guys? Welcome to J&T Outdoors. Today, me and Ethan are going to talk about trail cameras and what we all use them for pretty much. So we'll get right into it. How's it going, Ethan?
Good. You?
Oh, pretty good. So we're going to start off with the first list of items, why we put them out. And you want to start?
Sure. I like to put them out where there's spots where you can put them so that you can cover a lot of areas throughout your property that you're hunting, and so you can figure out what's all there. If there's good ratio, buck to doe ratio, if there's too many deer on the property, what they're always there.
Yeah, so like deer inventory, we could categorize that as, it's eyes in the woods, essentially. And,
without being there.
They're great. A lot of them are camouflaged very well. Put them in your tree. You don't have to worry about the deer, finding them if you put them high enough up. You get good deer inventory. We'll talk about scouting and patterning, tree stand locations. But, with scouting and patterning, it's really important. In fact, it was probably the one sole reason I shot my buck this last fall. I had over 100 trail camera pictures of a buck we called Tall Boy, and we had him patterned down perfectly. We knew he was going to come out and 20 yards in front of my stand. I sat on a cornfield, and the neighboring property is where he'd always come out at, broadside to my tree stand. And without those pictures, I wouldn't have shot him. So here he is here, 4x4, scored 136 with deductions, 139 total growth. But that was right in September. And another thing with that ties right into, tree stand location. With those pictures, I knew exactly what tree and where to put my tree stand to put me in the best possible shooting landing. Sure enough, it worked. So
Yeah,
that's a very good strategy to use. But it was a bucket list of mine, get a buck, scout him all summer. I mean, I had over 100 pictures of him since he was a nub to where he was full antlered and hard antlered. So that ties in pretty much perfectly.
Yeah.
Anything else on why we put them out?
Nope, that covers quite a bit of it then.
All right, the next topic we're going to go over is where to put them out. You can pack a lot of knowledge into this one. Just to go over the list quick, we got, rubs and scrapes, mineral rocks, food blocks, which we're making a video actually tomorrow about how to make those food blocks, so there's that to come. Travel routes, food sources, water sources, bedding areas, places like that, with a lot of deer activity. We'll start off with rubs and scrapes. Now, this year, we'll be putting up a rubbing and scraping pole. So we're going to go to like your local Menards or hardware store, get a wood post, drill a hole in it, put a licking branch on, and that will be our experiment this year. We didn't do that last summer, so, but natural.
Every year's another step.
Yep.
Just keep getting more.
That's exactly right. You can, all of the work going into the fall, you can go into the fall and go in blind, and your chances of shooting a mature buck go way down. It takes hard work, dedication in the off season, and not in, May through until hunting season. It starts right after hunting season. We were putting out food blocks in January.
Yeah.
It starts then, see what bucks survive rifle season and all that.
Okay, help them survive the winter, give that extra boost of nutrients.
Yes, exactly. It's essential. But with rubs and scrapes, we'll start off with, rubs and scrapes are very important because, that's going to, every buck, regardless of how big it is, it's going to be hitting up those rubs with their scent glands that they rub on them, piss on them, all that. It's going to just attract bucks. So that's a very good way to get trail camera pictures of the bucks that are in your area, regardless of if it's nighttime or daytime.
Yeah.
You'll have an inventory. So deer inventory, it goes back to that.
And it helps, they like to stay there a little bit longer, so if you got a trail camera a little slower trigger speed, we'll talk about that a little later, but it helps you get more pictures of them, maybe a better quality pick, but...
Yeah, and also with, rubs and scrapes, put out a mock rub and scrape, and you can also put tree stand location on it. A lot of bucks are hitting it up in the daylight.
Especially during the rut.
You put your tree stand up on a location near it, and that could be another tree stand location. And then our next point is, during the summer months when food sources are readily available for them, it's the greenest part of the year. That's when Ethan and I really like to lay out our mineral rocks, and we use either Jurassic Rocks, which is an off-brand of Trophy Rock, Trophy Rocks, and it's about 12-pound block.
Yeah, regular salt blocks from your feed store also works pretty good.
Yeah, the nice thing about Trophy Rocks is they get a lot more minerals in it than just salt. So we lay those out in the summer. It's really important, to keep it mowed down so you're not getting blanks. We'll talk about that later and what to look for. But you want to put them where they're not facing into the sun and where you're not going to get a lot of blanks. And the more expensive cameras, they'll have the thermals. You won't have to worry about blanks because they'll have to get a heat sensor to also trigger it. But if you go with a cheaper route to get more trail cameras out there, they're not going to have that thermal reading, and then you'll get a bunch of blanks, which I've had to deal with myself, going through countless pictures of grass, which gets very tedious at times.
Yeah.
But we like to put those mineral rocks out, and the mineral rocks are good for the deer, and it attracts all the deer in the area. But of course, you got to look at your local state rules and regulations. You can get in a lot of trouble if you're not careful. When to put them out, where to put them in regards to tree stand locations. You never want to put a tree stand on a mineral block site. You can get in a lot of trouble for that. So, you just got to be careful, look at your local state laws and regulations just to be safe.
We also like to put them in tubs or on the stands, then they keep out of the dirt, stay out of the water in case it rains, and that way they stay there a little bit longer, and also they don't soak down into the soil where they just keep pawing at it for years to come.
Yep. Deer will dig 4-foot wide holes just to get that mineral. So, keeping a platform, anything. I made homemade wood platforms that the rock just sat on, and that just keeps the mineral from falling out onto the ground. And also, it's a good thing, keeps it up so the trail camera can get a good picture of it. I can show you some of my other ones I'll put in the video, but keeps their head up to where you can get good characteristic details off their antlers, so you know which buck you're talking about.
Also, that helps keep the camera up higher off the ground. That way you're not getting pictures just of the grass, a lot of that. Get it up where you can get a lot more cover more area. Also, keep it out of the reach so deer can't lick them essentially, so then they don't blur up the camera when they're actually standing in front of it there. But I like to also cut the branches away so when it's windy out, if you got a cheaper camera that likes to just trigger whenever something moves, then you don't get them blanks like you were talking.
Yeah. The next thing we'll cover is travel routes, and this is where the crucial, early season, off season is very crucial. January, February, and even in March you can get snow. And that snow is a great tool on letting you know where the deer are traveling, because their tracks are right out in the open. So you look where they're traveling, put a camera on it. That's when you want the higher trigger speed, like you said earlier.
Yeah, I like to put the higher trigger speed up ones. We'll talk about that a little later too, but I put them on trails. That way you get better pictures right away rather than delayed pictures and happen to just catch the butt end of a deer. But
yeah, you really want a fast trigger speed, because most of the time those deer are going to be traveling quickly, or
they're not going to stop for you like they would if there was a block there.
That would be a good time to put a video setting on your camera. If you have the storage for that, or if you like the videos, that'll give you, trails are great for that then.
Also, if you're putting them on trails, try not to put them straight on the trail. Make them so you get a longer field of view of the trail.
Yep.
So
keep them out of the sun, rise and sunset, so you don't get blurry pictures of just sun, because that can be also frustrating. But then food sources, I guess, which ties into mineral blocks and food blocks. But food sources we like to talk about are like food plots. Ethan will be making a video a little bit later on, maybe in the spring, about his food plot that he has in his hunting area. But you can put them on trees around your food plot. You can put them on a
steel post, T-post,
anything. They like to travel with the corner on the edges of the food plots, and you can put a post, anything, wood plank, anything, and you can get a lot of pictures off of that too. And then it also, you'll know if your food plot is being successful or not. Because you'll see the deer traffic on there, and hopefully you get more deer traffic than less.
If they're stopping, they're eating on it,
Where
or
they're
if
coming
they're
from.
just traveling by it to just bypass it altogether.
Yep.
Also get a check to see the numbers of deer hitting that spot. If they're the same deer hitting it routinely, or if it's just a one-time use and then they're gone.
And then we got water sources as well, which is a very similar thing to food sources. I mean, every deer is going to drink. A lot of times they come to a common area to get, their drinks. So ponds, stock dams, streams.
Springs, that's a big one.
Yep, anywhere where, even in the winter, like active springs that don't freeze over, tend to get a lot of activity.
Helps the food plot actually that we'll be making a video on later. There's a creek that runs by it, and that's a good spot. You kind of cover 2 in 1 with a trail camera. You can hit them going to the water and on the food plot.
Yep, perfect. Then our next point is bedding areas, and this is a very good point. Is being in bedding areas, you have to be incredibly careful, and you want to tend to stay out of them. That's where you have trail cameras in there. You're not disturbing the deer. You're checking them once a month, even later sometimes. Once every month and a half, 2 months. That way you're staying out of the bedding areas, you're not disturbing the deer, but you're also getting a lot of deer activity. And it's crucial. I mean, you really want to hunt the area, the travel corridors between your bedding areas and food sources. You really want to like find a funnel point essentially, and knowing what's in those bedding areas and knowing where to find them in regards to your food source is incredibly crucial. And that's where trail cameras really, like you said, the eyes in the woods. You get multiple eyes.
Also when they hit the bedding areas,
Yep. Tells you when they come out of their beds, or going back into your beds, coming out of your beds, all that. Good
what
stuff.
direction they're coming in. That's very helpful
Yep.
when it comes to that.
All right. Well, that pretty much covers where to put them. So we'll do our next point. Is what do we look for in trail cameras? And I'll let you start with your trail camera.
Yeah, I like to use the Wild Game Innovations. I've used a couple of them and love them. Very nice cameras. They got very good quality pictures, very reliable. I like a lot of the big feature on them is the infrared on them. Then you're not getting blanks. They're taking pictures of when there's usually an animal there with that heat on them. And then I like them. They got very good cameras on them. And
Price and affordability.
yes, they make some very affordable cameras. So if you're looking for numbers out there, you can really get a bunch of them out there to cover a very big area.
Yes. And the bigger the property, the more trail cameras you want. And I've used stealth cams. This is my primary trail camera that we use. I use stealth cams. They're good. Good bang for your buck. They're not, too terribly expensive, but they're also not too terribly cheap. They give you good mode, good settings, good features with trigger speed, video, custom settings. But that's a thing I want to bring up is the price. Trail cameras aren't cheap by no means, but you got to determine pretty much what's more important: quality of picture or number of trail cameras.
Yes.
And with me, I honestly tend to go with number of trail cameras. The more trail cameras you get out there, the better. And you can spend $200 on the really expensive ones, but how many of that can you afford?
But
The average hunter is not a huge sponsorship brand or has money coming out of their pockets. That's where this past summer I used just a cheap $25 Simmons trail camera. Wasn't anything special to it, and it got me the trail camera pictures that I wanted and I needed to scout. But with that, you're dealing with blanks, and let me tell you, you can get a lot of blanks.
Very bored.
Yeah.
Very fast.
And that will drain your battery. That will take time to look through, and fill up space on your SD cards is another thing. You don't want to run out of space halfway through the month and then miss half of a month. So that's where these stealth cams they're a good bang for your buck. They got a good range on them, good battery life. And a lot of times they'll be on sales. You really got to keep your eye out, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Trail cameras are on sale all of the time. That's when you really need to jump on them. With this one, it was on sale. This my stealth camera was $115 retail price. Got it on sale for $70, and it came with a 16 gigabyte SD card. So you got to look at those, jump on those opportunities when they come, because you can get a quality trail camera and get numbers out there, and that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and you also got to look into the detailed description on them. If how fast pictures they take, how their trigger speed, all the different settings is a big thing. If you want 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 30 seconds, you gotta look, because on trails, you want that, maybe you want more repetition, or if you want more pictures over a block to get better chance of getting a good quality picture of all the views you want. But you also gotta look at the size of them.
Yes.
If you want a big bulky camera that sticks out, or a nice small one that really hugs the tree good.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And with that, with trail cams, you got your variety of SD cards. Most of them only take up to a 32 gigabyte SD card, and I learned that the hard way. Actually, I put a 64 gigabyte SD card in my last camera, and 2 weeks went by. I checked it, and I had no pictures on, and I realized, rookie mistake there. But with 32 gigabytes, I've had up to 16,000 pictures on mine in a month, and it still was taking pictures. So they will hold plenty of storage. Storage is not an issue, and I would suggest getting a 32 gigabyte, because if you're in the off season, you're leaving it out for a month, 2 months. That time period duration.
And it also helps, then you don't have to go in there and check them as soon.
Yep.
You can stay out of there a longer period of time.
Yeah, don't disturb the deer.
Yep.
And it's just, there's a lot of different brands out there. You don't even need to buy the most expensive SD card. They all work. So, and then with that, straps and screw-in mounts. Screw-in mounts are really nice for those big, huge white trees where you can't get a strap around. But for me, I just use straps, because around where I put in trail cameras, I can just
There's usually enough selection of trees around that you can find one that'll work good.
But yeah, if you're the only time you really, and mounts are also really easy. You just screw them into the tree, put your camera on it. Very convenient. But if you're, hunting open areas with very few tree selection, or even like watering holes or anything like that with a couple trees around, mounts can come in really handy, because, straps, you can only get them around so far and tie them or put them in through. So
some straps also don't hold up to the elements as good.
Yes.
As of what we kind of
found out the hard way
last week.
Yeah, they'll become brittle over time. That's just wear and tear, being out in the extreme hot and then the cold and then all that. So here's another item that I highly suggest. Okay, I really suggest it. I suggest an SD card holder, a case. Ethan can attest to this. I've lost so many SD cards out of pure stupidity. Just me, fumbling with my phone, pulling them out, and they falling on the ground. I never noticed. So they're like $12. They're really cheap. They'll hold up to 12, 24, depending on what pack you get. I highly suggest it. You don't have to worry about dropping them or losing them or anything. And also,
they also fit in your pocket nice.
Yep,
they're not like you got to carry a big backpack around just to have them.
Yeah.
But that brings us to the next thing, trail cam bag. It's very nice to have one of them. Then you can store all of your different straps, mounts, cameras,
cards,
batteries, all that stuff.
Yeah. It's not essential. It's just convenient at that point, getting in and out quicker. And with that, batteries, check them. Most cameras have like a monitor that'll tell you on the screen what your battery life is, but with some you don't. So it's just good to annually change them out once a year, halfway through.
Make sure the stuff's clean, no corrosion.
Yep, keep them nice and working order, and then you won't have anything to worry about.
You also got to keep in mind the cold elements seem to drop the batteries a little faster than out in summer months.
Yep, colder weather, you'll drain your battery quicker. So you just got to be mindful that you don't, it sucks walking up to the trail camera and realizing it's dead. That's never fun. So just keep checking them annually, you know, once at the beginning of the year, change them out, halfway through, you know, July, into the summer month, going into the fall, change them out again.
In the fall, you really want to make sure you have extra batteries because you never know. You get them hot and then you got cold streaks in there that really seem to deaden the batteries, and you gotta always be prepared for the worst.
And you know, in the fall, with the rut, you never know what happens. It's really nice to have eyes in the trees. You want those cameras up and running.
Working order, yeah.
Yep. And then, like I said, you know, leading to our last point, when to check them. You know, maybe during the summer months, during the off season, I do it once a month. Beginning of the month, I go on a weekend. Just take a day. Doesn't take long. All you gotta do is switch them out. I normally take my computer with me, my laptop, and I'll have a, you know, a thumb drive that I'll plug in. Take all the pictures. You don't have to sift through them out in the field. Take them, you know, put them on your thumb drive. Then delete, wipe your card, put the card back in. You're up and running. Go home. You can sift through them. Then that's what I do. But I do that once a month.
You like to go out there midday, 12 o'clock, you know.
Yep.
Try and get in and out of there as quick as we can, but also make sure we're not forgetting something, making sure we're getting everything back to where it needs to be back and working.
You know, be thorough, be quick.
Quiet.
Yep. You know, just be mindful. You know, there's deer in there. You don't want to spook them off. I mean, you do have a good duration of time. I mean, if you do flush deer, it's not the end of the world. You're giving them a month off to, you know, forget, but, you know, you don't want to get in the bad habit of spooking deer all the time. So, you know, middle of the day, daytime, they're generally in their bedding areas, so it's the best time to do it.
Again, speaking of bedding areas, we have yet to try the cellular cameras, which are kind of interesting. They're getting to be more and more of them out there.
Yep.
Which them in bedding areas would be very nice. Then
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't even have to go in there. You put the camera up, and then, you know, check your phone, make sure the batteries are good. As soon as it starts going down, run in there, clear it, get new batteries in it.
You know, they'll send you notifications when you're taking pictures, so those are really convenient, but they tend to be a little more expensive.
Yeah.
There's also adapters you can buy, cellular adapters that, you know, they'll plug into your normal trail camera, and then they'll send pictures to your phone, but those are also expensive adapters. And there's also solar panel adapters as well.
Yep.
You can have a solar panel mounted to your tree as well. Then you don't even have to worry about, you know, your battery's going dead because you have solar panels that just power it the whole time
But
through.
you also got to make sure you got open area in your tree canopy.
Yep.
And if trees are too thick, you just as well kind of
Stick with batteries.
Yeah.
That's what I would suggest. It's, you know, you buy batteries once every 4 months. So, yeah. And, you know, with the tree in the summer, trees have leaves on them. It's dark in there. So, unless you're out in the wide open, you know, on the edge of like a food plot, that would make sense. But
you also got to keep the weeds and stuff intact.
yeah.
Make sure they're under control, so then when the deer comes in there, they're not blocking the picture or something.
Yep. You know, what I do is every time I go in, I just knock the weeds down. And they'll grow back really fast. It's just how the summer months are. But, you know, I just go in and knock them down.
Especially around where, like over the mineral blocks, so right around that key point where you want the deer to be, where you're assuming they're going to be on the camera. So then you got a good field of view of them from the camera perspective. But
yep. All right. Well, have we covered everything?
I think so.
I think we have. Well, thanks for watching. You know, drop a like, subscribe, comment. You know, that helps us out with content.
Yeah.
So,
if you have any questions too, we'd love to answer them down in the comments. So,
you know, we've got an assortment of deer collection around here. You know, we'd love to hear your stories as well. So, and if you got any tips for us, we are totally open to it. So, all right.
All right.
Thanks for watching.